Today on CityCast Nashville, it's the Southern Festival of Books this weekend, and we are celebrating Nashville's thriving independent bookstore scene with local literature lover Jessica Pearson. From the best shop for kids to where I can find a long-lost book of poetry, we've got you bookworms covered. It's Thursday, October 16th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. I grew up spending time at Davis Kid and Bookstar. What happened to those beloved Nashville bookstores?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought up Davis Kid. Well, I didn't ever have the pleasure of walking into a Davis Kid, but I know how beloved this bookstore was in the Nashville community. It was an institution for 30 years, but in 2010, it permanently closed. It's owned by a parent company, Joseph Beth Books, which is still around, but they have far fewer stores than they did at the time. They filed for bankruptcy and they left Nashville without a bookstore, which was a tragic turn of events.
It still hurts, Jess. It still hurts. And Bookstar, too. I used to skip church and go to Bookstar in Belmead. That was such a great place.
Well, I hope you were looking for the Bibles when you skipped church.
Well, of course, Jessica. Of course.
Of course.
What's the benefit of buying real books in an actual store?
Oh, this is my favorite question. And anyone that knows me has heard my TED Talk in response to this. There are so many benefits. Bookstores are just incredible, integral community spaces. They are almost always local businesses, which means that the money that you spend there gets put back into the community. They build community. They are places where people can find each other. You know, Amazon doesn't have the personal touch that a local bookstore has. I think it's really wonderful when you walk into a bookstore that you're going to buy a book from a person. You're going to get a personalized recommendation. You get to have a conversation. There's a feeling of discoverability, which is just so fun to walk into a space. You see all the books laid out. You can touch the books. I'm very tactile. I love the feel of a cover. Maybe you want to smell the book. I also have been known to do this. Real true book lovers know what it's like to pick a book up and get that new book smell. All of these things are not available to you if you buy online. When you buy a book from Amazon, you're buying a book from an algorithm and not a person. And I think the personal touch of an indie bookstore is just timeless and special.
Jess, what if I'm too busy or just can't get to an actual store? Can I support local bookstores online?
Bookshop.org is a fantastic online retailer. It had its hard launch in 2020, which was just a very coincidental turn of events that at the start of COVID, this new online platform launched and had massive success connecting readers with an online retailer that is an independent retailer. They actually partner with indie bookstores. So when you sign on, you're going to see a ticker tape that shows you how much money has been raised for indie bookstores because they are a co-op model. So bookstores that have partnered with them get a cut of the profits from this company sent to them directly in the form of a check. If you have a preferred indie bookstore that you want to support, like a local one in your community, you can choose your local indie bookstore and buy directly from them via bookshop.org. So it is a really incredible platform, and they have been going strong for 5 years now. And I think they're a wonderful alternative to the big A.
Well, then let's get into our Nashville beloved indie stores. But I want to play a game with you and kind of shout out specific books that I'm on the hunt for. And you're going to then, tell me where I can find these specific books at. I need to get a cookbook for you, Jessica, since I know you love to cook. Where do I go to get the perfect cookbook?
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much in advance for this gift. And I'm so happy to send you to the Bookshop, which is a small indie bookstore in East Nashville. It's on West Eastland Street, right next to the incredible Peninsula Restaurant. It's owned by a woman named Joelle Herr. And this is a very small but beautifully curated shop. She is doing so much with about 500 square feet. And I think one of the things that makes the Bookshop so special is specifically her cookbook collection, which Joelle has thoughtfully curated. She has a gorgeous eye. The books are beautiful. It's a wide-ranging selection of cookbooks. I have found some real gems in there, cookbooks that I have not seen in other bookstores. And there's always a hidden gem on her shelves. So that's absolutely where I would send you.
All right. You know me. I love a good fantasy novel. Where can I go get the newest A Court of Thorns and Roses? ACOTAR for those real nerds like myself.
I would send you, in this case, to Novelette Bookstore, which also is in East Nashville. This is on Chapel Avenue. It's a very cool, fun bookstore. I love their color palette. It's pinks and purples and blues and yellows. And you walk in and it's just bright and inviting. They have done a great job of building out their romance, their sci-fi, their fantasy section. I think they have the best in the city. So if you are looking for that new romance book or that new romantasy book or that new sci-fi book or whatever the next up and coming genre of blending romance with just, insert whatever, you can find that book at Novelette.
Is that where I would go to find the newest queer romance novel?
That is where you would go as well. I would also say that they have the most extensive selection of queer LGBTQ plus section. And they have a really also wonderful selection of activist oriented literature. So yes, if you want a good queer romance novel, definitely I would head over to Novelette.
Where should I go to get the newest Ann Patchett novel?
Oh my God. Okay, hang on. I have to think about this one. This is a toughie. That's me being sarcastic. Okay, you have to head over to Parnassus Books. For maybe the two people in Nashville that don't know that Ann Patchett owns Parnassus Books, we are so lucky to have this flagship, nationally renowned bookstore here in town, owned by Ann Patchett. You will find all of her books there. They are all signed, so that is just an added bonus. That's how lucky we are to have her as our hometown girl. So you can always get the newest signed Ann Patchett novel at Parnassus Books.
I love going there.
Maybe she'll even be there. Maybe she'll even hand you her book in person.
You stop off at the donut den, grab a donut, then go over to Parnassus Books.
Actually, that's a great recommendation.
Perfect afternoon,
Marie.
in my opinion.
Also an old Nashville institution.
Oh, boo-hoo. Jessica, I lost my collection of jewels, A Knight Without Armor. Who will have it?
Oh, God, this is such a niche question. And I'm so sorry that you lost that. I also was a huge Jewel fan and spent so many hours squirreled away in my high school bedroom reading Jewel's amazing poetry collection, A Knight Without Armor. Thankfully, if you go to McKay's, which is one of our, also an old institution off of Old Hickory Boulevard, it's the largest used bookstore in Nashville. And I can tell you from many visits to McKay's that if you go to the poetry section, there is always a very, very generous collection of Jewels and Knight Without Armor, usually at least 20 copies on hand that have been traded in by elder millennials like myself that have parted with this book. And, maybe they realized that they gave it away too soon and they want it back. And so you can always find a copy there at McKay's.
Whew, thank goodness.
Yeah, don't worry, Marie. This book can find its way back to you.
All right. Well, shout out to Meg Ryan in the hit movie You've Got Mail, which was one of my favorites growing up. So if I want to recreate going into her bookstore that you see in that film, what store in town feels like that one? I
think I would probably have to say Parnassus, and partially because one of the things we love so much about that bookstore is its quirky feel. It's, it's got the shop dogs, which is just, that's what you expect from indie bookstores, is that added level of quirk and fun and personality. It's really fun.
Well, sticking with the theme of You've Got Mail, where can I go to get my flirt on?
Yes, bookstores are such a great place to fall in love. This is another thing I love about indie bookstores. People get engaged in them, they get married in them. Bookstore romances are a timeless trope. So if I was wanting to get my flirt on, I would probably head over to the bookshop for a couple reasons. I talked about how small it is. So when you walk in, you can quickly size up the joint. And, you're going to be able to see who's in there. And if there's someone that catches your eye, it's small enough that you could very easily organize a casual, cute bump. Like you kind of maybe knock your hip on a table and kind of bump into the person that you've been eyeing. And the hope is that they're holding a novel that you also love and you feel that flutter and you can have a quick little chat about how you love that book too. And if it feels like there's sparks that are flying, you could just walk next door to Hannah B Coffee and you could, begin the rest of your life over a coffee.
I gotta go, folks.
I think
gotta go get my flirt on. My soulmate is out there. Thanks for that advice. That's great. Well, so to continue then on, maybe these two lovebirds will make a family. Where could they go and bring the whole family, all ages?
Parnassus is our biggest bookstore in town. They have just an amazing selection of books in all genres, all types. They also have just a fantastic kids section. You can walk through a tiny little kid-sized door into a magical wonderland of books that opens up. You could kind of drop the kids off in the kids section. I don't know if the booksellers would want me to advertise them as wonderful companions for your child, but they are knowledgeable about books and can keep the kids entertained while the parents are browsing the store looking for whatever it is that they want. So I would probably offer up Parnassus.
Well, as a childless person in 2025, when I have to go get a gift for a child, I pop into Fairy Tale Bookstore in East because it's so tiny. And I just go straight to the person working and say, what do I get a child these days? They're age 7. They just only have to move like 3 feet to point to the book. And then I get it and I'm out of there in 4 minutes.
I'm so glad you brought up Fairy Tale books. They are fantastic. They are also doing a great job with very little space.
Tiny, tiny little store. Okay. I'm on a very strict budget. Where can I get the best deals in town?
Oh, this is great. We have a new bookstore that just opened in town. So let's give a shout out to East Nashville Books, which just opened a couple months ago. They're up off Whites Creek Parkway, and they are a used bookstore. So they have a ton of great used books and their prices are really good. I've been browsing their Instagram. I can say they are pulling in some really lovingly cared for, but still in good condition copies of really current contemporary new fiction. They also have these big comfy pillows that are on the floor that they are encouraging lounging and just getting really cozy. So that's fun.
Just find me on pillow number 2.
I'll be on pillow number 3, Marie.
I'll see you there. So we've covered East Nashville, West Nashville, Green Hills. What other neighborhoods can we shout out a local indie bookstore?
Well, I want to call out in North Nashville, there is an amazing Black-owned bookstore, Alkebulan, which has been open for over 35 years. And they have a huge collection of fiction, nonfiction, self-improvement, self-empowerment, business books, history, all with a focus on Black empowerment and Black culture. So that's a fantastic bookstore in North Nashville. I think it's right on Jefferson Street.
35 years. Oh my goodness.
35 years.
That is amazing.
Hi, I'm Michael Ziviak, Chief Revenue Officer of CityCast. Why do most of us want to learn a new language? It's because we want to speak it out in the real world with real people. Babbel gets you there fast. My daughter's a senior in high school, and after she graduates, we're taking a father-daughter trip to Spain. I know, she's spoiled, but that's on me. I'll be honest, my Spanish right now is pretty much tops out at ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? But when we get there, I want to actually talk to people, order food, and really connect with the locals, not just stumble through the basics. That's why I'm starting with Babbel. Learning a language with Babbel is all about small steps, big wins, and progress you can actually track and feel. And with how busy things get here at CityCast, I love that Babbel's bite-sized, 10-minute lessons fit perfectly into my day, whether it's between meetings or while I'm having coffee in the morning. I'm really excited to start picking up real-world Spanish before our trip so we can experience Spain in a more meaningful way. Right now, Babbel has a special deal for our listeners. Get up to 55% off your subscription at babbel.com/citycast. That's BABBEL.com/citycast for up to 55% off. Rules and restrictions may apply. Gracias and adios.
So here we are talking about places you can get your books, but I know that bookstores, local bookstores, are so much more than just the books. So let's shout out some of these places that have events. And I've been seeing a lot about silent book clubs. What is that?
Yeah.
You just sit there in silence and read?
It's exactly what it sounds like, Marie. It's an introvert's dream. Haven't you ever wanted to just, you don't want to be in your house. You'd like to be out. You'd like to feel some of the energy of being out in a public space together. Maybe you want to get a coffee or a glass of wine or a cocktail and you want to read your book. And so these have become so popular, silent book clubs. The Bookshop hosts one every month and it's at their store, which, as I said before, butts right up against Hannah B Coffee. So they host the readings in Hannah B, where you can get yourself a nice cup of coffee and you just cozy up and you bring your book and you read. And maybe you notice that someone is reading something that you're interested in. So you can do a little chit-chatting. You can find your people. It's definitely a community event. But the point is just to read and to do it quietly together.
And then are the banned book clubs complete opposite of that? Is there just a lot of rage and screaming at those?
Yes, you're going to want to bring a picket sign. You're going to want to bring a megaphone. These are, no, I'm just kidding. But the banned book clubs, we do have a really awesome, I'm sure everybody knows what's going on with banned books. And certainly Tennessee is kind of one of the epicenters, woohoo, of banned books culture. Sienna Rouse, who is on her way towards opening Bardstown Books in Bourbon, she is also the host of the Banned Book Club, which happens at Third Man Records every third Thursday of the month. So if you are interested in getting your banned book read on, this is a community book club. You can just follow them on Instagram or go to Third Man's website and you can find out what book they are reading for the month. This will always be a book on the banned book list. And you can just read the book and show up and have a really thoughtful, engaging discussion with other people in your community that are interested in reading more of these books.
Well, a big reason why you're here is because you've been working at Penguin Random House for a very long time. And so you work side by side with many authors. If an author comes to town and I want to hear them read from their new book, where would you recommend going?
Well, I would say we are so lucky to have Parnassus Books here in Nashville, and their author event program is spectacular. They boast over 100 author events a year, and they partner with local venues if they have large offsite events that they need to bring in authors like Matthew McConaughey or the Barefoot Contessa Ina Garten, or you can just go to the store where they bring in fantastic authors right there in the bookstore, and it is always at 6:30. You can go to their website, find out who they have on the docket, and it's a wonderful evening of usually hearing of an author read from their new book and answer questions from the audience.
Are those events free?
Sometimes you do have to sign up in advance, and most of the time they are free, but sometimes it will be what we call a book with ticket event. So if you actually buy a ticket, but that will be the price of the book for admission to that event. That's usually for their much bigger named authors where they know they're going to have a huge crowd and lots of demand.
Wow, this has all been so informative here. We're going to move on now to talk about the Southern Festival of Books that's happening this weekend, October 18th and 19th. It's among the oldest and largest literary festival in the country, but it almost didn't take place this year. Why?
The Southern Festival of Books is put on by Humanities Tennessee, which is an arts organization in Tennessee. They just had a lot of federal funding cut from their budget this year, and that meant that it was a threat to the Southern Festival of Books happening. Thankfully, we saw an outpouring of community support to keep the Southern Festival of Books on the calendar. One of those major fundraising campaigns was led by our very own Ann Patchett. She led what she called the 20 Bucks fundraising campaign, where she encouraged community members that value this festival to consider just donating 20 bucks. And of course, the donations flooded in. And then this is really amazing. Vanderbilt University, for those of you that don't know, has one of the most prestigious MFA writing programs in the country. And they are a wonderful supporter of Nashville's literary community. And they became an official partner of the Southern Festival of Books and Humanities Tennessee this year. So we also have them to thank in large part for the Southern Festival happening.
Well, that's amazing. So folks, again, that's happening this weekend, October 18th and 19th. We'll put some more information about that festival in our show notes today. Jess, I want to circle back and end with talking more about community and what our local bookstores do offer. How do these stores contribute to the community beyond just selling books?
I think indie bookstores do so much for communities. You can see when Davis Kid closed, it generated just an outpouring of grief for this community that we were suddenly left without a bookstore. That's a large reason as to why Parnassus Books opened, was it just felt so disappointing and sad to have a city like Nashville without a bookstore. So people value their independent bookstores very much. And I think the reason why it's indie bookstores, they've always had this history of being what we call maybe like a third place or a third space, these places where people can come together, ideas can be exchanged. There's a sense of finding your people. The fact that people want to come together and read silently together and just be amongst their people. I have a bookstore in Florida, actually, that just started a walking group of people that just want to show up at the bookstore on a Saturday morning with a coffee and walk together listening to their audiobooks. And indie bookstores are really fun. If you've ever walked by an indie bookstore, I always love to look at the chalk art on their sandwich board. It's always creative. It's always punny. It's whimsical. There's certainly a real sense of fun when you walk in these places. They have quirky little details, whether it's shop pets or really fun swag, books and hats and stickers. There's staff recommendations. You just can't beat a well-placed staff recommendation card, handwritten. Those are always my favorite. If a bookseller, hand writes the reason they love this book, you can feel the passion and the love. So I just think that they are really special places that bring a lot of joy to communities and people.
They make the world go round.
They truly do.
Well, I want to end on a selfish question because you're in the biz. So I want to know, what's the most anticipated local book of the year?
I don't know if this is the most anticipated book of the fall or if it's just a book that is going to mean a lot to a lot of Nashvillians, I suspect. But there's a book that just came out this past September called Living in the Present with John Prine by a man named Tom Piazza. He's a music writer and journalist from New Orleans. Can you think of anything better than being on a road trip in a 1977 Coupe de Ville with John Prine?
Whoa.
Can you imagine going through the state of Florida on a road trip with John Prine?
I mean, that's what the book's about? Wow. That sounds like so much fun.
2018, Tom Piazza climbed into this car and he rode around Florida talking about friendship and music. And the book takes you into these antique malls and record stores that they spent time digging around in together. There's beautiful passages of John Prine playing his guitar and trading songs with him, listening to him play. The book is full of jokes. It's a really intimate, beautiful book that just will take you right into the heart of this friendship and celebrate one of Nashville's most beloved singer-songwriters. And Tom Piazza will be at the Southern Festival of Books.
Oh, well, check him out this weekend, folks. Jessica, this has been so special, not only because you're one of my best friends, but because you're so knowledgeable about all of this and you're so passionate about it. And it really does make a difference. So everybody go out, support local. And we'd love to have you back to talk more about books next year, because I do hope people continue to read.
Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!